Sudan's history goes back thousands of years. It's home to some of the oldest civilizations, like the Kingdom of Kush, which exists around 2500 before Christ, and was a significant power alongside ancient Egypt. These were prosperous, sophisticated civilization that controlled trade routes and built incredible structures like the pyramids Meru.
Exactly. It's fascinating to think about the diversity of influence in Sudan. Through history, it became a bridge between Africa and the Arab world, with trade routes, culture, and religion flowing through. Over time, Sudan saw the spread of Islam, especially after the Arab conquest in the 17th century. This left an imprint that would shape Sudanese identity and culture.
But the history of Sudan wasn't just about ancient kingdoms and cultural exchange. It also includes centuries of resistance and resilience. By the 19th century, Sudan fell under the rule of the Ottoman Empire and later British colonial rule. The British administration, which often favored northern Sudan over the south, planted seeds of division that still affect the country today.
After Sudan gained independence from Britain and Egypt in 1956, these divisions didn't just disappear. Instead, they contributed to two brutal civil wars. The first from in 1955 to 1972, and the second from 1983 to 2005. These conflicts were driven by ethnic, cultural, and economic tensions, as well as dispute over resources.
And after we investigated, it wasn't until 2011 that South Sudan finally gained independence. While this was a historic moment, it didn't bring peace to Sudan as many had hoped. Even without South Sudan, Sudan faced internal challenges: political instability, economic hardship, and unresolved conflicts in regions like Darfur.
Which brings us to the event of 2019. After years of discontent and protest, Sudanese citizens managed to oust Omar al-Bashir, a dictator who had been in power for nearly 30 years. For many Sudanese, this was a moment of hope, a chance to rebuild and finally create a government that served the people.
But the period of transition wasn't easy. Two powerful generals, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the head of Sudan's armed forces, and Mohamed Hamid Delgado, known as Hamidite, who leads the Rapid Support Forces, emerged as dominant figures. They were supposed to guide Sudan towards civil rule, but as time went on, their alliance weakened.
Exactly, Ma. These tensions between al-Burhan and Mohammed came to a head in April 2023. Their disagreements over how to structure Sudan's government and military escalate, each side wanting to hold the reins of power. It was a classic power struggle, but with its treacherous consequence. Fighting broke out, starting in the capital, Khartoum, and quickly spread.
And this wasn't just a political conflict, it was a conflict with enormous implications for ordinary people. These two forces, each with considerable firepower, started battling on populated areas, and as always, civilians bore the brunt for the violence. People were trapped in their homes, unable to food, water, or medical supplies.
In just few months, thousands have been killed or displaced. What's heartbreaking in how this situation has eroded basic services. Hospitals are overwhelmed and destroyed, and there's a severe lack of essential supply. Plus, it's made Sudan an even more precarious place for humanitarian work.
This conflict is not just affecting Sudan, it's destabilizing the whole region. Neighboring countries like Chad, Egypt, and South Sudan are facing a refugee crisis as thousands of Sudanese flee to escape the violence. The international community is concerned about how this instability might spread across borders.
That's right, and let's talk about the humanitarian impact for a moment. The UN and other agencies are desperately trying to provide aid, but it's incredibly difficult given the violence. International groups are struggling to get access to those in need, and in some areas both the Sudanese armed forces and the RSF have blocked aid.
Right now, About 24 million people, half of Sudan's population, are in need for humanitarian assistance. It's shocking to think about. Imagine the sheer number of families, children, elderly people who are caught in the nightmare without resources or safety.
And it's not just the physical toll, it's emotional and mental too. Generations of Sudanese have already grown up in the shadow of conflict. Now, with this latest crisis, another generation is living through war and displacement. This kind of trauma has long-term effects on communities, families, and the country as a whole.
So, what's the international community doing? There have been several rounds of talks and ceasefires attempted, most led by regional groups like the African Union, but so far none have held for long. Some countries are also imposing sanctions and pushing for peace negotiations, but the situation remains incredibly volatile.
Yes, and it raises an important question. What kind of Sudan do Sudan's people want moving forward? There are countless voices within the country that want democracy, justice, and accountability. It's not just a story of two generals, but also a story of civilians who want a rebuilt a nation they can be proud of.
And, globally, people can help by staying informed, amplifying the voices of Sudanese activists, and supporting organizations that provide humanitarian relief. This is especially critical as winter approaches, which could worsen conditions of displaced people living in camps or on the move.
Absolutely. Sudan's journey from ancient civilizations to this modern conflict is a powerful reminder that history is never just in the past. It lives with us, influencing the present and shaping the future. Sudan has faced many dark chapters, but each time its people have shown remarkable resilience.
Let's not forget that the people of Sudan deserve more than just survival. They deserve the chance to thrive in peace. And if you want to help, consider donating or just spreading awareness of aid organizations that are working on the ground.
Thank you for joining us on Africa Now. We hope this episode has given you insight into Sudan's past and present. If you found this helpful, please share it and keep it in Sudan. For now, we'll sign off, but we'll continue to follow this story as it unfolds.
Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and stay engaged.
Bye.